Good morning, spaceflight enthusiasts. I'm not much of a betting man, but I'd be willing to put $20 on the fact that Gwynne Shotwell probably didn't get any sleep last night, and she's probably wishing that she had found a way to slip Elon a few sleeping pills, or at least take his computer away so he couldn't keep posting self-destructive messages on X, because a massive war has broken out, at least a war of words between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, something that has escalated tremendously in less than 24 hours and has put billions of dollars of federal contracts and mankind's return to the moon, and also potentially Americans' access to the International Space Station. All of these things are now at risk. But how much of this conflict has real consequences and how much of it is just two big egos insulting each other online? We're going to find out right now. Good morning, spaceflight enthusiasts, and once again, welcome to the Angry Astronaut. I'm releasing this video a lot earlier than usual because this is a rapidly developing story. Wanted to get as many details in front of you as possible, although the situation is likely to change in the next 24 hours or so, given how quickly these two guys are posting insults. And there's an online magazine here in the UK called The Independent that I think did a good job in summing this whole situation up as it's been developing, so I'm just going to quote extensively from that. Quote, "The high-profile bromance between Donald Trump and Elon Musk finally imploded on Thursday, with the president claiming the world's richest man had gone crazy in big block caps and threatening to terminate his multi-billion-dollar government contracts. Quote, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months that I was going to do, and he just went crazy again in block caps," the president wrote. "The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it." Over the course of the next few hours, two of the world's most powerful men traded blows from their respective social media platforms, Truth Social and X. Interesting that we have two guys who own their own social media platforms with millions and millions of followers, as their partnership came to an abrupt and extremely public end. The spat culminated in a bombshell claim from Musk that the president was in the Epstein files, that this is the real reason they have not been made public. Then Musk wrote, "Have a good day, DJT," and signed off. But then 10 minutes later, he signed back on and said, "Mark this post for the future, the truth will come out." Days after leaving his role as special advisor to the Trump administration as a figurehead of the Department of Government Efficiency, Musk lashed out at the president's big, beautiful bill, calling it pork-filled and an abomination. Trump had previously, interestingly enough, taken the high road on this issue. He's been very careful in the types of criticisms that he's been leveling at Musk, and hasn't been throwing out the same kinds of insults that he's thrown at other people. No calling him a nut job or bird brain or anything like that, although recently I guess he started using the word crazy, but it took him a while to get to that point. Earlier on Thursday, during a meeting with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the president told reporters that he was, quote, very disappointed, unquote, with his former first buddy. Trump was asked about his former advisor's recent comments against the spending bill working its way through Congress. Quote, "Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than anyone, and he only developed a problem when he found out that I would cut the EV mandate, and it really is unfair." Trump also claimed that during the presidential election, he would have won the crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania without Musk's help. But of course, Elon had posted, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election, Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude." And by the way, he also said that Trump's claims about him always knowing about the details of the big, beautiful bill were also completely false. He claimed that he never saw a single word of the bill until it was passed, and it was passed in the middle of the night. That second statement actually was true, and many representatives in Congress never even got a chance to read it. Now, for its part, the White House, as I mentioned before, took a more diplomatic tone through official channels. Quote, "This is an unfortunate episode from Elon, who is unhappy with the one big beautiful bill because it does not include the policies he wanted." This is according to White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt. The president is focused on passing this historic piece of legislation and making our country great again. Over the course of this week, and especially in the last couple of days, Musk has really been ramping up his attacks on this bill. Quote, "Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong," he wrote on X. And then later on, he reposted a poster from Quentin Tarantino's bloody classic Kill Bill to urge his immense following to voice their displeasure at the proposal. Quote, "Call your senator, call your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Kill the bill." Later on Thursday, after suffering a withering bombardment of X posts from Musk, Trump responded again, defending the bill politely. Quote, "I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done this months ago," he wrote on Truth Social. "This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again." By the way, I'm not going to put in any sort of comments or analysis to whether any of these claims are actually true. I'm just giving you what these folks have been posting to give you a picture of just how nasty this exchange has become. And then finally, about 12 hours ago, Elon Musk took things to the next level. Quote, "Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT." And then after that, he proposed starting his own political party, asking his followers on X, quote, "Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle?" And the response was overwhelmingly positive. But the most significant development, at least as far as spaceflight is concerned, was Trump's suggestions that he might cancel some or all of Musk's federal contracts with SpaceX. This is worth billions of dollars, both through NASA and also through the U.S. Space Force. About 30 minutes prior to Elon posting his old Epstein bombshell, Trump wrote this on social media, quote, "The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts." Now, I am going to make a couple of statements on this particular claim because it simply isn't true. If these contracts were canceled, well, these military satellites have to be deployed by somebody, and astronauts need to get into orbit somehow, and all of the alternatives available to the U.S. government right now are substantially more expensive than using Falcon Heavy or Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Not only that, if the government stopped using Crew Dragon, that means that they would have no choice but to use Boeing Starliner. Musk is well aware of this, of course, and wrote, quote, "In light of President Trump's statement about cancellation of my government contract, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately," unquote. If he were to actually do this, then we may as well allow Russia to put a big double-headed eagle on the International Space Station, because they will be able to claim ownership of the station until we can find some sort of viable option of getting astronauts into orbit, which of course would be practically impossible with Boeing Starliner still struggling. So if you're worried about the future of the American space program, well, here's my take on the whole situation. If Trump were to cancel all of Elon's contracts, then yes, that would be cataclysmic given how much not only NASA but also the military relies on Elon and his relatively low-cost access to orbit as opposed to the pretty limited options that both of these agencies would have if they were to try to find some other way of getting to orbit at the last second. Although rockets like Vulcan Centaur and New Glenn have now entered service, both of them are very early in their service record and are not up to a high launch cadence or a high level of production at the moment. Plus, both Blue Origin and ULA have massive commitments for these rockets already. If Trump were to cancel these contracts, he would be putting both the military and NASA in a world of hurt. If Elon tries to withdraw his support for these services on his own, which incidentally he's already said that he's not going to decommission Crew Dragon, well, he has contractual obligations for all of these things, both his military contracts and his NASA contracts. He cannot cancel these things without opening himself up to a huge lawsuit. All of that having been said, though, there's one thing that does concern me, and that's Lunar Starship. At this point, Elon Musk no longer has much of an incentive to get Lunar Starship ready in time to put human beings on the surface of the moon before Trump leaves office. At this point, I think that he would intentionally delay the development of that rocket just to spite the guy. I really wouldn't put it past him given how nasty this confrontation has become. That being the case, then, I think that mankind's return to the moon, at least if we're talking about the Western world, could be in deep trouble, and I think it might be a good time for Trump to reconsider his choices when it comes to NASA's upcoming budget. Getting rid of SLS and Orion in favor of a rocket being developed by an outspoken rival is not the best idea. Now, once again, perhaps Elon will move forward with this regardless and will put personal conflicts aside in order to get the job done. But if I were Trump, and especially given the fact that Trump has a big thing about loyalty, I would not put all of my eggs into that basket. Instead, would look long and hard at the Blue Origin option to see if there's any chance that Blue Moon might be able to put humans on the surface of the moon by 2028, at least as a backup alternative. Once again, this is if Trump wants to make that Nixon-esque phone call to astronauts on the surface of the moon before he leaves office. But another thing to consider also, given what's just happened. Obviously, Elon Musk no longer has a favored position when it comes to contracts, and especially when it comes to the FAA and Starship. That could put a damper on some of his Starship development plans if the FAA suddenly becomes a lot less cooperative, but also other startups, especially companies like Rocket Lab, could have a real opportunity to snap up some of these future government contracts coming that would have otherwise gone to Elon in most circumstances. Well, I'll let you know how all of this develops. It might also cool down, and in a couple of months these guys might be the best of friends again, but given how conflicts between Trump and his former allies have usually gone, this thing looks like it's over, and that could spell some very serious consequences for SpaceX and Tesla as Trump's time in office continues. I will keep you up to date on this situation. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also please consider supporting this channel on Patreon and Cash App or with a super chat. It's that kind of support that keeps this channel going, so thanks very much for your support. And until next time, stay angry about space.